So we've got an old set of Shovelhead cases here that we've got to redo the crank in. So we're going to do a Timken bearing install. You have your main clip that goes in the middle of this. And we're going to try and force this into place. One of the key things to remember is you have an oil galley that's in here. You're going to want to try and get this as close to it as you can, because you are going to have to move it and make sure that it falls in place properly. So there's our clip installed. We're a little closer than I'd like to be. So we're just going to move that. You want to make sure you're centered where that oil galley is so that you get good clean oil flow to your bearings. Now you got match sets of Timken bearings. I don't think it really matters, but I always like to make sure I keep each bearing with the race it came with. So you want to take your race, get her good and assembly lubed. Never use too much assembly lube. And you want to get your trusty old Jim's tool. They do make some good things. This definitely being one of them. You want to drive that race down. Distinct sound when they bottom out. We'll pop our bearing driver out that side. And then we're going to take, remember that one goes under, and this will be our top bearing. And just keep an active eye on the fact that you're keeping your oil galley doesn't shift. This pin shouldn't move, or this spacer, sorry, shouldn't move. Again, with the trusty old Jim's tool. And we're going to drive this race down. Sound when it bottoms out again. So we can now take that out. And we have our races installed. So we can get our bearings in. So we're going to get set up and we'll come back and show you guys how you do your Timken end play. So as I said, we're going to get set up and we're going to take care of our Timken end play. We have a variety of spacers. You usually get a pack of 5 and they're all different lengths or thicknesses, sorry. This is the one that would have come with the Timkens. This is the one I took out of the case. So we're always going to start with this just to see if we're in play. Now this comes apart and goes together many times. So we have the crank here, but what we built is a system that we can use where we don't have to press the bearing onto the crank yet, and we can still check for our end play. So we're going to drop our case on here, which sits on our bearing. Then we're going to take our spacer that we were talking about and we'll drop this one in here. Then we take our other bearing, which now slides down just as easy, and what we have is this amazing tool we built that will allow us to bolt to our case and check our end play. Now, generally speaking, you're going to want your end plate to sit. Tolerances between 1 thou and 5 thou. The tighter you can get it, the better off you are. Ideally, we want to land around 2, maximum 3 thou for end plate. Keep it tight, and that gives us the longevity. So we want to get this done. You don't have to really concern yourself with the torque. just make sure it's tight is what you want to do. Now we need a screwdriver. Get our dial indicator sitting down. So you always want to zero out your gauge. Typical with anything whenever you're doing any kind of measurement with a dial indicator. First step on your red seal, dial that gauge to 0. So now you're going to grab your cases and you're going to lift up on them and see how much play we have. And we got a ton, as you see. So I'm not going to make everybody watch me do this, but we're going to take this apart. And we have a series of spacers, as I said, down here, and we're going to go through these until our end play lands where we need it to play. Okay, start. So we're back at it after waiting for some spacers to show up. We got a couple bags that are within the specs we're looking for. As you can see, you need a lot of these. Not that you need that many to check each crank, but once you're within the zone, you can get within the bag that technically usually has the size that you're looking for. So we have our spacer that was closest last time, which was a little too tight. So we're gonna try and see if we can get this within the first shot or two with a new spacer. Again, when you do this, you wanna do it dry. Lubing up or doing anything to your bearings before you go to do this will affect your play that comes in them. So. We'll zero our gauge out. First step anytime you're going to do anything. Still too tight, so we'll pull this one out. Now, if you don't have the thing that we have, that we built here, you can order this pinion shaft from your parts supplier and build one yourself. But if you don't have that, then every time you go to do this, you have to put your crank in and actually press this bearing on your crank, which can, imagine doing this 5 or 6 times. And you got to do that. So we're about 1 thou, which means we're definitely too tight. All right, so we've narrowed it down to the spacer I believe is right. So as you see, we're at 0. When we pull up on the case, we go 3 thou. Now the tolerance of this is 1 to 5 thou is what they say. The tighter, the better the longevity, so they say. Don't necessarily agree, so we like to land around 2-3 thou of end play, and then that's good. Once we clamp it all together, get our compensator and whatnot on here, it'll take some of that out. It allows for heat expansion, and we should be good to go. Next up, we're gonna do the whole crank back in the case, and that'll be our next video. Thanks.